What's going on with you offensive linemen? You retire and you lose so much weight.
Yeah, 300 pounds is kind of the benchmark for when you retire, and then everybody either goes 50 pounds up, 50 pounds down. I got about an equal amount of friends that have gone both ways. So I went 50 pounds down. I don't sweat walking upstairs anymore. I see some friends after like 7-8 years, and you see, and they got kids and everything now, and you go, you got to pull them aside and go, hey man, you don't look so good. It's tough. The metabolism slows down. The eating habits don't. I was lucky. I got hurt. My shoulder can't really carry that much weight. So losing weight was just kind of a means to an end a little bit.
How much do you weigh right now?
I bet you haven't been on a scale in 10 years, but I think the last time I was on was like 245, 242, something like that. My wife hugs me and tells me how much I weigh, somewhere around 245.
You don't even look like you're 242, 245. I'm 230, and you're a lot taller. So I think, what are you, 6'3", 6'4"?
I'm 6'. Well, at my peak, I was 6'5", just over 6'5". But who knows that with this age, you shrink a little bit. But I feel like I'm right around there, and I feel like 240, 245 sounds about right. I got a big ass and legs and stuff. It's just up top, I'm thinner.
You 42, 43 years old?
I'm 46, man. It's getting up there.
You still look good, man. You look.
Well, I appreciate it, but listen, here's what happens. 50 is not bad anymore. Problem is 50 is only 10 years away from 60. The next couple of years are pretty good, but after you hit that 50 mark, things start looking a little bit different.
Did you think that Aaron would have come back if the Jets were in a playoff race?
Medically, it would be unprecedented. It just goes to show you how stubborn he is and what a belief he has in himself and the guys that he surrounds himself with. For him to even have the option or the thought in his head that he'd get back, I think it was after 5 months. The turf at MetLife is awful.
Horrible.
And guys are getting hurt all the time. And it immediately goes back to the NFLPA and the gripes that they have with the owners about, the surfaces that they're playing on. My first thought, honestly went there. You watch Hard Knocks and you kind of fall in love with him again. I think regardless of where you maybe stood with the COVID deal and the Packers last couple of years, he just seemed like a really personable, likable guy, a good leader. He goes down, and then you kind of start hearing about he might try to make this comeback. Quite frankly, it's the only news that was coming out of New York. The Jets were such a bad football team without him. They're kind of fumbling around with that poor quarterback. He's a unique individual. He's, obviously a surefire Hall of Famer, one of the most talented guys I think I've ever seen in my lifetime at throwing the football. You have to appreciate the way that he marches to the beat of his own drum, and he certainly did that with this rehab and what he's been going through. So I think it's exciting that he's going to be with a good Jets football team for the next couple of years, healthy, and you see what they can do. They could be a real threat to particularly that division now.
Now, I'm sure you heard that he might be running for vice president, which I think is ridiculous. Right. He was never doing that. And he even came out on the Pat McAfee show and said that there's not a chance that he is running for vice president. He actually came out the other day on the McAfee show saying that he wants to play 4 more years in the NFL. So why all of a sudden is he going to retire and become the vice president of the United States? It's just ridiculous, Mike. What were your thoughts when you heard that story?
I got to be honest with you guys. I spend a minimal amount of time thinking about stupid things like that. I know there's just we're all in sports talk shows and they have to have something to talk about. But man, I really like watching tape. I like breaking down players, like talking about the off the field stuff, the vice president stuff. It's like I don't have a lot of time for it.
That's the press, and that's everybody trying to throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus because of the offseason. Do you have a good Julius Peppers story?
Here's a Julius Peppers story. So you walk in and you know who he is. He played basketball at North Carolina. He just doesn't look like everybody else, quite frankly. He just looks like a better version of a human. He's an evolved human compared to everyone else. Makes you feel bad about yourself when you're walking around. John Fox used to want everybody to do a combine every offseason, which was absolutely asinine. But they wanted to keep tabs on how everybody was doing. So they would do a vertical jump test. We had like an 11-foot ceiling. And they had to take the tiles out of the ceiling and stick the vertical jump, the little thing where you go and tap it. They had to stick that through the ceiling because Pep would just disappear into the damn ceiling every time he jumped, man. And we were just he would just do stuff like that. Like we had another time where Pep was like, we were doing a 20-yard med ball toss over our heads. And at this point, I'm legitimately strong. Like I'm NFL strong. I work out all the time. I could throw that thing a mile. I throw it like 20 yards, right? Pep is just talking to like Deshaun Foster, just having a chat, laughing, and flicks it like 26, 27 yards without even thinking about it. I mean, beat everybody else by like 5 or 6 yards. He just had that kind of like freakish strength and athleticism